How we doing, party people? Happy Thursday.
Thursday.
It's
Hey, happy Thursday.
welcome, man. Welcome, 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 welcome. Who's got wins? It's Thursday, baby. Wins, 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 wins. Patrick, you got any wins, bro?
About to say I'm trying to get in my Stripe account, but I think I'm like 1,500 or 2 grand away from my monthly goal, which was 20K. So
Good.
be pretty solid.
Awesome. Congrats.
Thank you.
Who else? Wins. What do we got? Wins. Doesn't have to be business. In your own life, what's a win?
I can go. I guess we got to win. We started our program, I'm sorry, our coaching program August 1st. We did 16K and we did 9 so far this month. So right on track for the same amount, trying to beat it. So yeah. So I guess that's a win, right?
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
The month is still young.
Month is still young. Exactly.
Good stuff. One more. I need one more win. Who's got it?
Personal win. I found out a couple of weeks ago that I'm going to be a dad against all odds. So that's a big win. That's why I haven't been in the calls the last couple of weeks because my wife is so sick. I got to take care of her as soon as I finish.
Wow. Congratulations.
That's man.
Thank you.
Man. Big win. I think that's the best win I've heard ever.
Yeah, especially because I was told that it's going to take at least a couple of years of hard work and like changing my lifestyle to be able to do it. And it just happened in a month. So not complaining.
Congratulations, Hamza.
Thank you.
All righty. If you have the capacity, people, cameras on. Now, I'm actually going to be reviewing one of Hamza's calls if he's still down for it. Are you still down to have your call reviewed?
Yeah, I'm down for that. And I'm just grabbing food. So I'll be with my camera on in like less than 10 minutes, but we can just get going. My only question is like, I don't know if I could have handled all the objections in a different way. So let's see what everybody thinks.
Cool. Sounds like a plan. Before we get into his call, who has sales related questions within their own business?
I'll go first.
Good.
How do you handle objections in the DMs? Obviously, I'd like to be thorough in the way that I handle them, but like I also understand like talking in person with your words is very different than typing, letters in a message to someone.
Yeah, what are the objections?
What are the objections?
Someone's echoing.
An objection that I got was, what's the price? Beforehand, I obviously didn't build the gap between the goal and their desired state, so I like sent them a video message, just explaining that that's what should have happened first, and then like there is no value behind it. I'm not sure if that's
the route that
optimal.
I would take with like price. I mean, obviously, do what you can to make sure that you build enough urgency where the call makes sense in the first place. But let's say someone says, "What's the price?" Just tell me the price. Like, I don't want to do a call. Just tell me the price. I would say, "Well, we have programs that fit all budgets." Okay, so that's number one. We have programs that fit all budgets. But at this point, I'm not even sure that I can help you. That's what the call is for. So if it makes sense, we can hop on. There's no pressure. Like I like to send voice notes as well, Roberto. Like voice notes are just more personal. You're the face. And so saying that, like if I can help you, I'll walk you through what that would look like. But if not, I'm still going to try and point you the best person I can. Is that fair?
Yeah, I like that a lot. I like the voice notes and getting some FaceTime in as well. Like responses, trust builds really, really quickly when you do that. I found so I think that's helpful.
Use it to your advantage. Use it to your advantage.
Because you might actually.
It's like they just want to make sure that they don't get scammed. that they don't get burned. That's all they're looking for, is certainty that what you're doing and what you're
Yeah.
teaching is actually going to get them to their goal. That's really it.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
You got it. Who else? Sales related questions.
I got a quick one. It's kind of more so a setting, but I was booking a call with this guy that works in sales. He does door to door. And I mentioned about getting on Zoom, and he's like, he booked the call, but he's pretty much saying, I'm not going to get on Zoom. He said, call me. And he just dropped his number, trying to kind of take authority within the conversation. So what would you say is the best way to deal with that? Because I have to do Zoom for sure.
It's a Zoom call. That's it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. All right. Thanks.
Yeah, the call will be on Zoom, just like the coaching calls will be on Zoom. Like, no one's going to call you, buddy. So if you want to do the call, it'll be on Zoom.
Got it. Thanks.
I know it's annoying, especially with those types of guys. I hear this all the time. Yeah, dude, I'm in sales. Like, I know what you're doing. And I'm like, dude, I've been in sales for 3 years. And if I was on a call like the call you're on right now, I wouldn't even say that. It's always the people who suck at sales that say stuff like that. Because everyone understands, like, there's a process to everything, right? Like, if I went to a doctor and I needed to get my knee checked on or whatever, I wouldn't say, well, hey, man, like, just get to the point. Can you fix me or not? It's like, well, dude, he has a process just like everyone does. And at this point, not sure I can even help you. So obviously, I'm not going to force you, man. You don't have to be here. You can leave. Jose, what's your question?
Yeah, so my question is more so content based. I started about 2 weeks ago. Last week I started the program. So when it comes to content, does it have to be specifically about my niche, or can it be just speaking, or I'm making more so I guess funnier content, and then I'm hoping to later on, once I get more posts in line, to be able to do content more for my niche, and then at that point do the ads. Am I supposed to wait to do ads as well after I have enough content?
I'll be honest with you. This is more of like a Rohale question. I'm not like a content specialist, but usually the strategy is speak directly to your audience and everything you create. Speak to your
Okay.
audience, hit pain points, run ads, target those ads. But Rohale does a call on Tuesdays. So I would definitely ask him. And you can put that in the community too, for sure.
Okay, appreciate it.
You got it. All right. Anyone else sales related questions before we review?
Yes,
Call?
yes, I have a question.
You got it.
I just finished a sales call, and the guy told me, yeah, I need to think about it, even because in my process, I have a set call, and during the set call, I say, yeah, I just work with people know they can take a decision, it's yes or no. And in the beginning of the sales call, I told him, you need to take a decision at the end of this call.
For sure.
And even at the end, he told me, oh, I need to think about it. And maybe I
Sure.
put a lot of pressure, I think, on him, because I say, when you are a man, when you say something, you
Yep.
you got it? Okay. You need to go until the end. So just tell me yes or no. And he told me, yeah, but you forced me to say no. I need to think about it. So what do you think
Okay.
about that?
I mean, it can be a lot of different things, right? Like, I don't
Yeah.
necessarily know because I didn't watch the call, but the way I frame it, I posted a piece of content today about this. Like, if I drove up in your front yard and I said, hey, man, I'll give you this Lamborghini that's worth $300,000. I'll give it to you for $5,000. Would you tell me you need to think about it? Even if you didn't have the money. No, you would say, I don't have that full amount right now, but I can go and find it. Right. So it's like, could be value, could be you didn't build urgency, could be he doesn't believe that you can actually get him there. But the framework for that, if you want a little golden nugget, when they say I need to think about it, I would say it's not a problem. Before you do, go and think it over. What's sort of, I guess, coming up for you that makes you want to do that, just to see if I can even help? That's the route that I would take. It's going to produce something.
Mhm.
Usually they're going to say, well, it's just more than I thought it was going to be. And now we're having a money conversation instead of a think about it conversation. So what most people will do is they'll say, well, what do you need to think about? Which is just going to drive up walls. They're just going to say, well, I told you, man, like I just like to think things over. Like I don't make decisions on the spot. But that's not true.
Yeah.
I make decisions on the spot all the time. You ever been walking around in like Target or grocery store and you realize you need to use a bathroom?
It's,
go to the
it's
bathroom.
exactly that you say.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
and once you, I mean, there's a process to everything, right? But whenever we start having a money conversation, it's like that's the easy part. I'm never going to allow that to be the reason why we can't help you. Before we even get into that, though, like, could I ask, like, in your own opinion, do you actually believe and feel that the structure that I've laid out of like what I do and how it works can actually put you in a position where you can reach your goal? Because that's the most important part.
Mm.
So now I'm going for certainty that what I do, like money aside, is actually going to get him to his goal, and he's confident in that.
Mm.
Sometimes you'll hear, well, I feel like it could, right? Which is uncertain, which means like they're not going to pay you any money because they're not sure that what you do is actually going to get them there. So there's levels to all of this. But what I will also tell you is working with hundreds of sales reps, it doesn't matter if you got all the frameworks memorized. Like if you haven't had a conversation with that person where you've gotten them to realize that what they're doing is not working and they have to change and they're willing to take the responsibility on and put a line in the sand, right? And they understand how dire their circumstances are, the word tracks don't really matter. And the biggest thing that I've seen it all day on all these different offers, not being direct. You have to be direct.
Okay.
If you notice the way that the person you're talking to is thinking and believing is incongruent to them getting to their goal, you have to call that out. That's your job. You're the leader.
Okay. Okay. Because I felt like it was really uncomfortable.
Good.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I'd say good. Because like, I don't know about anyone in here, but like getting to the top of the mountain is not going to be comfortable, right? And the funny thing is like people say, oh man, I mean, the thing that stuck out the most to me about your program is the accountability. I'm like, wow, that's so interesting. Why do you feel that accountability is like the key to the castle that's going to get you to your goal? And then they'll tell me, and I'm like, okay, and do you like the idea of having accountability, or do you actually want accountability? Because they're two completely different things. And they'll say, no, I actually want it. I actually want the accountability. I know I need it. And I would say, do you want accountability right now? Because I can hold you accountable, man. I can put your feet to the fire. Because from what you shared the last 2 years, you've been doing X, Y, Z, and it's not working. You got to make a change, and now a change presents itself. What are you going to do?
And
It's
if you
both.
say, and sorry, if you say, yeah, but I don't know if the process you use will help me to reach the goal. Even he watched my testimonies, and
Why?
he said, yeah, because I didn't see, I don't know your strategies, so I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's like well, I haven't done it yet, right?
Yeah.
Like I haven't done the program yet. And I'm like, makes sense, right? Because we're never going to know whether or not our shower is hot or cold until we stick our finger in there, right? That's the whole point. Certainty comes from taking action. You never know if your marriage is going to work out until you're married, right?
Yeah.
So the false narrative is like, there needs to be comfort in making a very uncomfortable decision. That's why you'll get I just don't have the time, like it's really just a timing thing, or I don't have the money right now, or let's just wait and hold off because I got to go on vacation. All of that is like, I need more comfort. Like I'm not ready yet, and there's going to be a time when I will be ready, and it's a false narrative, and it just puts people in this constant loop. Excuses, time goes by. It's the same thing with, I need to run it by my partner. They're looking for certainty or validation from their partner that they're making the right decision. But at the end of the day, their partner can look them in the eyes and say, you know what? This is the best idea I've ever heard in my entire life. I think it's going to go great. Even if they said that, hypothetically, which most of the time they wouldn't because they don't know either. You still have to be the person to make that decision. Still your decision to make. And so the idea of once I have that conversation, I can actually take the step and I'm going to feel confident, feel comfortable. It's not true. Just not true.
Okay. Thank you.
You got it, bro. Felipe. I love this, guys. Coming to the call with questions. Fantastic. This is great.
How are you, brother? Doing great?
Good, dude. I'm always good. God is
That's
good.
amazing. So, bro, I have like two customers right now, and the question is about follow-up. So the first, um, I've been talking to her like probably like a month, and she's super excited. Like she really wants to do my program, but the thing is
Mhm.
that she says that she doesn't have the money. And
Mhm.
at the beginning, she told me that she was having like this kind of, like crisis, and she was taking some pills and stuff, but she really wanted to do it. Then she told me, hey, so what if I bring you more people, right? So I said, yeah, definitely you can have like a discount, like
Yeah.
a referral
Yep.
discount and stuff. And she brought two more people like to the table, but they
Okay.
haven't taken actions yet. So I called her probably like 2 weeks ago and said, hey, I really like this program. I have this option for you girls. Like the best option is I can make like this group program only with you, with the three of them, and it's gonna be very special. And it's like 50% off if you want to do it like in a group, because all of them were saying, yeah, I don't have money right now, so I figured that out. I don't know if that was a good
Is that
strategy.
really what you want to do? Like, is that if like you could just do it exactly how you want to do it? Is that something you would do?
Yeah, I mean, it sounded like a good idea to me, like to offer them that, because I
Yeah.
do want to test like a group program. So I said, yeah, it's like a good opportunity for me,
Have
like
they
to try
paid?
it out.
Like, have they paid you?
But they haven't paid yet, so I don't know what to do. Like, how can I do like the follow up
I'll
with
tell
her?
you this, like anytime I've ever bent my knee and like moved heaven and earth for someone, I
Mhm.
always get burned every single time. That's why I'm asking you, like, is that really how you want to spend your time? Is that really what you want for yourself? Because if you're
Yeah,
being
no,
honest, the answer would probably be no.
yeah, no, but I mean, I do wanted to try that group program, but yeah, I don't want to be, like calling her and
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's, and I think everyone in here would agree, like, ideally, they would just pay you what you're worth, and then they would just do what you tell them to do. So if that was me personally, I would move on to people who actually want to put a line in the sand and want to go all in and burn the boats behind them. I
Okay.
wouldn't be messing around with people who are just wasting time, making excuses, personally.
Yeah, got it. And the second lady that I had this call 2 days ago.
Okay.
She is working currently
Okay.
with mentor like from Mexico,
Hmm.
and this mentor doesn't have like this system, like a program itself.
Hmm.
So I showed her my program, like my system, and she was very excited. She said, "Hey, this is exactly what I really wanted."
Okay.
And so she told me, Felipe, I cannot do it this moment. I really need to think about it, because it means like she needed to drop the other program, but she's not seeing results with that. So I said, yeah, you know what? I completely understand. And she told me, can you please send me some information? So I sent her like this document.
Yeah.
And what's the best way like for you to do like a follow up with this kind of customers? Like, what would you say?
That person's not going to join.
No. Okay.
No, it's
Wow.
in my philosophy is you came to me and we had a conversation. And obviously, like I have been doing this very long, and that's all I've focused on is just sales. But with these people, if you can't get them over the finish line on the initial call and it's anything other than logistics, they're lost.
Wow.
You will have people 1 out of 100 that will reach out later and say, hey, like I got the money together, I'm ready to start, it's very rare, right? So that's why I say, like, when they're coming to you and they're on the call with you, it's your job to do everything in your power, move heaven and earth on the initial call to get them over the finish line.
Mhm.
If it doesn't happen on the first call, I mean, you can send them contracts, you can send them all kinds of client testimonials, you can put them in contact with clients, they can get on with the client and talk to them about everything and hear everything they want to hear, and they're still not going to move forward a lot of the time because you're literally moving heaven and earth for someone who it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's like you need to know whether or not on that initial call it is logistics or it isn't. Most of the time, it's not logistics. Most of the time, it's fear. I'm worried that if I give you, insert your investment amount, you're not actually going to get me to my goal. Or maybe I got burned in the past with another coach, like you're talking about how this person worked with another coach and they didn't get him to the goal. And now she's looking for another coach, right? Which would mean either it's the coach or it's her. Could be a mix of both, right? But the problem is overcoming that, the fact that she has been burned in the past, right? That has to happen on the call with you. Like you've got to get them to realize that even though they messed up with the investment in the past and it didn't work out, they can't allow that to hold them back from taking actions going forward. And now that we've spent the last 45 minutes to a full hour talking about them stepping up to the plate, talking about them needing to make a change and put a line in the sand, if we do nothing, we both failed. We're actually both further away than we were before the call even started. Because why would I spend a whole hour telling another person that I need to change over and over and over and over again and do nothing? It's not congruent. Because if all we ever do is talk about it, we don't do anything, we're always going to be where we are, which is not where we want to be, which is why we're booking a call. But the big thing that I want to over communicate is that's our job. It's not the prospect's job to think that way. That's our job to put that and instill that belief in them where they recognize that doing what they're doing is not working. It has to change. They got to do more. They got to put a line in the sand. They got to burn the boats. They can't be comfortable. Getting to the top of the mountain is not going to be comfortable. And they're willing to do everything in their power to get to their goal. That's our job. But the big thing that I see is like we have like a script, we have like a framework where you got all the questions, but there's no depth because you don't fully understand why you're asking the questions. AKA, you're not getting the right answers and you just keep moving on and you get to the end and you just get bombarded with objections. And they're all around trust. They're all around fear, right? Because if every single person in this Zoom room was charging $1, we'd have 1,000 clients. No one would say no, right? But now that it has significance and it has weight and there's a cost and there's a risk, now you're getting all the objections. If it was easy, everybody would do it, but it's not easy. So that's why I say like mastering these skills is so important. We got to master these skills. Got to master marketing. Got to master sales. Got to master fulfillment. Got to be best at everything. In order to be an effective leader.
More, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, brother. Thank you for that.
You got it. I'm super direct, guys. Don't
Yeah,
take
that's
it personally.
No, this is awesome.
Good. Who else? Corey, what you got?
By the way, that's great information, so I appreciate it. So I've been in sales for a long time, just recently exited my full-time job, and I've always been told that, like the follow-up, sales is all about follow-up, and kind of what you said just now made it seem like, once they get off the call, the chances of them buying after is reduced significantly, which I do agree with.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you have some sort of tip for cadence of follow-up. Basically, I'm just trying to get direct like you. I'm just trying to get to an answer at a certain point.
Yep.
Like, are you in or you out?
Yep.
No harm, no foul. But I don't want to come off as too salesy. You know what I mean? So just I'm curious if you have like some sort of cadence that you follow.
Yeah.
Or follow.
So the mindset that I would put into closers, and just so you guys know, like I have 6 different offers that I'm on and I manage all their sales reps. So I'm like training reps all day. The approach is we're going to do everything in our power on the initial call to get the deal over the finish line at all costs. And the reason I say that is because there's a certain framework that we use for handling objections that makes it abundantly clear on whether or not this is logistics or it's fear. And everything is like very calculated. The whole conversation is. So if someone says, I can't move forward on this call, we're doing a deposit, right? So it's like the deposit holds their spot, it locks in the discounted rate, and it makes sure that they're serious and they're committed to actually taking the step and getting the knowledge and the skills to get to their goal, et cetera, right? So in the case that someone doesn't move forward and it's not logistics and it was fear or it was partner or think about it, whatever it was, and the rep couldn't overcome it, usually what we're doing is we're putting them into a group chat with the CEO, right? The CEO is sending voice notes, right? We'll re-offer people. And so when I say re-offer, what that means is, let's say today's the 19th, I would wait like a week or two and I would send a message to them and I would say, hey, we're doing an end of the month promotion for all the people that we've had conversations with that did not move forward. And the way that it works is we're going to take off $500. We're going to take off $1,000 if you decide to move forward by this day. And that works very well. You just want to build urgency. The other thing is giving them a reason to want to work with you, sending them specific videos based on the conversation that you had, based on the problems they were struggling with. Solve a problem, give them homework, like do everything you got to do to get them over the finish line. No one likes being pestered. No one likes hearing, hey, did you give up on this yet? You still here with me, right? Are you seeing this? Can you just respond? No one likes that. But if you give them value and you continue to support them based on the problems they were facing and encouraging them, eventually they'll buy.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Persistence. Yeah. I wish they all just close on the first call. They don't, but that's the big thing. And I love voice notes. Voice notes are way more personal, right? People feel like you actually care about them. It's not just some automated message, not a robot. And sometimes I'll say things like this, like if I had someone who seemed like they were super hot and they wanted to do it and fear got in the way and they didn't move forward, I'll just send voice notes and I'll say, hey man, I know you see these messages. I just wanted to let you know that if you don't respond in 24 hours, I'm going to be assembling a team of Filipino VAs and they all have your IP address and they're going to be blowing you up until you respond. Just add humor. Like we're all humans, you know? Yeah. I'm not a salesman. I just want to hold you accountable. Drew, do you have a question?
Yeah, just your thoughts on, instead of charging a 3-month program, what about a weekly subscription?
From my experience, subscriptions have very high churn. And I would rather somebody pay me $5,000 and be all in and burn the boats than pay me whatever a week or a month. I know that usually comes from like a scarcity mindset, because if we were all operating in abundance, we would say, I want someone to pay me $10,000 for what I'm doing. It's worth that or more. So regardless of how bad it gets, I try and never operate in scarcity. And like, I'll give you guys an example. Like Brandon had a Kingdom Coach school program. It got up to like $40,000 a month. And within 2 months, it was at like 6. Churn is so high. People just come in, they get all the information, they get your time, resources, and they leave. And then they don't even get the result. It's the biggest thing. So if we're really in the business of helping people, it's gotta suck. It's gotta be a big sacrifice. It's gotta be a big commitment. It's my opinion.
All right, thank you.
Got it. Is that Lisi?
Yeah, I said it right.
No.
That's it. Thank you.
Gold star.
I have a quick question. What are your thoughts on paid consultations? Like $40 for 30 minutes. We come up with a roadmap. And the reason I ask is because I've tried free sales calls for what I do, and I've tried both.
Mhm.
I've had better closing rates with the paid ones,
Mhm.
but I'm wondering, I talked with Ro about this with respect to like the marketing aspect of it, but what are your thoughts about that? Like, because I would have like 75% no shows, and that was a real bummer.
I've never done it personally, but if it works, I'd say do it.
Okay, thank you.
You got it. Roberto, you're back.
Yes, sir.
I was wondering if you can give us a high level overview of the questions that you walk people through during the sales call. I'm sure I have like about 90% of them down.
Yeah.
I think there might be one or two where kind of we're expanding on like their desired situation that I'm missing, because I felt like kind of painting that dream. I'm having a difficult time like helping them paint that dream.
Okay.
Okay.
Muting you because you're the one with the reverb. I can give you guys a higher level. I can go more advanced, because there are certain sections that I feel most people are unaware of that are negatively affecting your ability to future pace. That's what I'm calling it. Future pace is like the top of the mountain, the goal, the outcome is achieved. Like, what does that do for them? And the biggest thing that I see is we don't get them to admit that they have to change in order to future pace, right? Which future pacing implies that we're working together. And we can't work together unless they change. So that's big to understand that. We have to understand that. They have to understand that. And it doesn't come from lecturing them and telling them what they need to do. It comes from asking the right questions where they're persuaded to realize that they have more problems than they thought they did. In fact, they don't have solutions to their problems. What they're doing isn't working, right? And the time is continuing to pass. And they don't want the time to continue to pass with unfavorable or subpar results. So what that looks like at a high level is, what is your goal? Like, what are you trying to accomplish? And it can be different for everyone. If it's fitness, they want to lose 50 pounds. If it's make money online, they want to get to 10K a month. Like, it just depends. More leads, grow their business, right? So it really depends on what the outcome is, and you'll know that better than me. But once I get a goal, then I'm going to get into where are they at right now. So goal, current, okay? And depending on what you sell, you need sometimes extreme clarity on where they actually at, because some people allow ego to get in the way and they don't want to admit where they actually are. Okay. So an example of that is someone saying, yeah, I'm at 150K a month with my business. And then I get clarity and they're actually at about 40, right? After all expenses, after paying employees, after lying. But that's why that's so important, is because that gives me leverage. If I actually know where they're at, then I'm going to get a time frame. So goal, current, time frame. Let me help you. So you want to lose 50 pounds. You weigh 280 pounds. You want to get down to 230 pounds. And this has been your goal for 6 months. Okay, that's leverage, right? This is not a yesterday thing. Now, what I'm going to get into is solution discovery. What have you tried over the time frame to put yourself in a position where you can reach your goal? What have you tried? Some people, okay, and this is where this gets more advanced. Some people have done nothing. Okay, there's a certain way to handle that type of person. That's the kind of guy who says, oh, I haven't done much. Like, I've watched YouTube videos and I've done some research. Okay, but this is 6 months we're talking about, right? Some people it's going to be 2 years. So there's a certain way to handle that person. Then there's going to be the person who's tried a lot. Yeah, I've gone to therapy. I've tried the personal trainer. I've tried this course. I've invested money, right? There's going to be a certain way to handle that person. And they're very different. They're different. You don't handle the person the same way. So with person number one, where they've just done a bunch of research, my end goal in that conversation is getting them to admit why they haven't done more. Okay, so what that could look like is, in all that research and everything, have you ever really put anything into practice and actually reached your goal, or is it pretty much just been research? Okay. Another way, if I'm talking to somebody who wants to make money online, I would say, okay, and all that research and everything that you've been doing over the last 6 months, how much money have you made doing it that way? And usually they're going to say, no, nothing. Like, okay, would it be fair to say that you're just kind of stuck at this point? Okay. And when you realize that you were stuck, being that like having a coach and mentor is proven to get you quicker and closer to your goals, have you been out there looking for a coach so that you can reach your goal, or what have you done in that regard? This is where we get more advanced. Okay. Because usually they're going to say no. No, I haven't looked into a coach. Or maybe they have. Yeah, I've looked into a coach, but I haven't joined any programs. Why? So what I would ask is, okay, and so in your own opinion, what has prevented you from taking action rather than just doing research? What has prevented you from taking action rather than just doing research? The goal of that is for them to admit they're scared, fearful, scared that if I give someone $5,000, I'm not actually going to get to my goal. There's a lot of scammers out there. Okay. Is everyone understanding where I'm going with this conversation? Is this making sense? Head nods. Okay. So once I get to that point, that is a pivotal point, because that's going to be my objection at the end of the call. They're going to say, this sounds great, right? Sounds great that you can teach me how to make 10K a month. Sounds great that you can teach me how to lose 50 pounds, but I haven't done it yet, right? Which ties into the conversation that we've already had earlier. Okay, so a way that you can handle that when someone finally admits that they're fearful of investing, they're fearful of giving you money, they're fearful of getting burned, is using an analogy. So you could take this route. Totally normal. That's actually something that we help clients with all the time, right? Because really and truly, there are no guarantees, right? Just like there's no guarantee you're going to wake up tomorrow. But just so I understand, can you walk me through a decision that you had to make in the past where you were doing something for the first time and it had like significance and you weren't even just a bit nervous? Here are some examples. Playing sports. Who in here has played sports? Yeah. I played football. Okay, so the question that I could ask someone, let's say they play football, walk me through the first time you ever played football. Like, let's talk first practice. Everyone's getting padded up. You got the helmet on. Coach comes up and he says, we're going to run Oklahoma drill. Here's a football. Are you like, I'm Reggie Bush, like I'm ready to do this thing? Or are you sweating a little bit? You're a little nervous? Because it's fine if you were. Yeah, I was nervous. Aren't we all? Hell, I was nervous. I didn't want to get my head knocked off. But after you took the first hit and you got up and you realized that the pads were as protective as you thought they'd be, like, how did you feel then? Yeah, it was kind of exciting, dude. Like, rush of adrenaline. I actually trucked that dude. Awesome. What about after you caught that first touchdown? How'd you feel then? Oh, I felt good. Would you have said that it was worth it? Yeah. Okay. And so, like, imagine you allowed that fear that you felt initially to hold you back from taking action. Would you have had the experiences that you had? No, I wouldn't have. Okay. So how is this any different? How's this any different? It's not. Okay, so do you feel like if you keep allowing that fear of failure, that fear of what happens if, to hold you back from taking action, do you feel like you're going to lose the 50 pounds like as quickly as you're wanting to? Or do you need to make some changes?
And Tristan, are we leveraging this analogy for those who've tried nothing in the period and were curious to see what's been preventing them from taking action, i.e. they're scared, therefore?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, perfect. So right now I have, what's your goal? I mean, pivotal. Obviously, we're not going anywhere without it being tangible, clear, defined. Where are you currently at with it? How long has that been your goal for?
Yep.
Are we sneaking in when were you looking to achieve this goal by? Or are we adding that before we're coming
Everyone's
in?
going to say now.
Cool.
As soon as
Okay.
possible.
Got you.
Yeah.
And then what you've tried during the period, that splits out into tried nothing, a lot. We handle
Yep.
that
Yep.
okay, in its own respective way.
Yep. So we've got, as of right now, we have the person that hasn't tried much. Right? That's how you would handle someone like that, because there has to be a reason why they haven't done more. And this is a public service announcement. It's not because they didn't have the money, and it's not because they didn't have the time. That's an excuse. Because back to my example earlier, if I pulled up with a Lamborghini and I said, I want to give this to you, it's worth 300 grand. You got to give me 5. No one's going to say I don't have the time. No one's going to say I don't have the money. They're going to figure it out. So we can't take people at their word. We can't allow them to make excuses and cope and rationalize and just leave it at that, because we're the leader. Because if they join the program and they tell you, hey, I paid you 5 grand, but I just didn't have the time, what are you going to say then? BS. You didn't have the time. You did nothing I asked you to do. You got to make the time. Just like for someone like Elon Musk, you think he had the time, or did he have to make the time? The answer is he had to make the time. Just like we all have to make sacrifices and we all have to make the time. We all have to prioritize things in our life. Right? So that's one person who hasn't done anything. Let's talk about the person who's done a lot, tried a lot of different things. At a high level, all we need to understand is why it didn't work. Why didn't it work? What was missing? Right? Because some people say, I tried XYZ programs, multiple, spent thousands of dollars, and I couldn't get to my goal. But I'm always apprehensive. I'm like, why? Why didn't it work? Right? Because my first question would be were there other students in the program that did reach the goal? And they say, yeah, there were. If they said no, I'd say, well, hell, man, why are you buying programs with no results? Because that's a problem in itself. But most people will say, yeah, there were other students in the program that did get results, if I'm being honest. And so I would say, why did they get the result and you didn't? Was it a you thing, or was it the program? If it was the program, what was missing? Because when they tell me what was missing, I am pitching them on solving what was missing. I'm making it make sense as to, hey, you remember earlier how you mentioned that you didn't have accountability, you didn't have a coach that you could message, you didn't have X, Y, and Z? Well, in this first phase, what we're going to do to make sure that that does not happen again is we're going to set you up with a plan where you're going to have X, Y, and Z, like you mentioned you needed, like you mentioned was lacking. And then you're going to have the community, and then you're going to have the accountability, and that's what's going to get you to your goal. Does that make sense to everybody? So there should never be like, if anyone tells me, yeah, I don't really think it can get me there, it means I did a terrible job of identifying what they needed. And that's my fault. No one should ever say that. It should only be, this all sounds great, and I'm certain you're going to get me there, but I'm just scared. And that's why I say it's like, dude, I mean, I can give you all the damn scripts in the world to follow up. But if you didn't do your job on the first call, you did a crappy job. Just like the guy who goes on a first date and it sucks. There's nothing you can text the girl to get her back on the second date. Sad to say. Do better. It's my mindset. And it's the truth. Yeah, I know. I got analogies for days. This is all I do, guys. Just talk to people in my room. So the two make sense as to how they're different and why we're asking the questions we're asking. Now, either or, like either route you choose, because everyone's different. Everyone's going to come from a different circumstance. They're all going to try different things. The transition is, do you feel that if you keep doing it the way you have been, that you're actually going to get to your goal? Or do you need to change? Usually the way that I will word that, because I will sit with people until they admit what's actually going on, is, okay, and so I guess, do you feel like if you keep allowing that fear of like investing, that fear of failure to hold you back from taking action, like, do you feel like you're actually going to lose the 50 pounds as quickly as you wanted to? Or do you need to make some changes? No, I need to make some changes. Why now? Why now? Why not just keep doing what you've been doing? Like, what made you actually want to hop on this call today and put a line in the sand? Because like, no one's going to make you, right? You don't have to do anything. You don't even have to breathe. Why do you want to? And that's, if you do that correctly, the future pace will land. People say, wow, they're just giving me like one word. And it's like, well, crap, dude. It's because you've done a terrible job up until this point. It feels super surface level. It feels like you're reading a script, right? That's why we're getting the, hey, buddy, can you just get into what you do already? Can you just tell me how much it costs? Like, these questions are fun, right? I'm in sales. I get it. Can you just tell me what you do already? The only reason someone would say that is because they genuinely feel that the conversation that you've had up until that point did not get them any closer to their goal. That's the only reason they'll say that. They feel like you're reading a script. They feel like they don't have clarity on where the conversation is going. They don't feel like you understand where they're at. It's kind of like, hey, buddy, like, you're kind of in the way. Can you just get out of the way for a second so I can understand what this is? And then I'll make a decision if I feel like it's perfect. And that can be hard to digest, but it's just the truth. Okay. So that section that I just walked through is probably the most important section, in my opinion, because with future pace, usually the route that people will go when you say, okay, Roberto, like, imagine that I could coach you and train you, you have the right skills, and my team's able to put you in a position where you go from, say, 3K a month, like where you're at now, to 10K a month, which is $120,000 a year, which is 1.2 million over 10 years, right? Like, that's a pretty big jump. Can you sort of paint the picture for me of how life would be different in comparison to how it is now? Usually people will start with buzzwords, and the buzzwords are going to go negative. So what I mean by that is they'll say things like, yeah, I'd be a lot less stressed. Less stressed. I'd feel confident, right? It's always these one-worded responses that you don't really, like, you can assume you know what it means, but you don't really know what it means, and that's why we ask. But a lot of it is stressed. How do you mean? Less stressed? Are you stressed now? And so the conversation is naturally going to pivot negative. Yeah, I am stressed right now. Like, I'm like paycheck to paycheck. I got a bunch of debt. Really? Is that having an impact on you? In what way? So there's no like, there's a framework, yes, but there's no like copy and paste on future pace. It's always random. But usually it's going to go very negative, where you're going to start building pain and urgency and getting clarity on where they at right now and what did they not want to settle for. And once I get there, where I can kind of like put a line in the sand, I'll say, okay, and so I understand like where you don't want to be, and it's clear to both of us, like we see that. Where do you want to be? Like, what does the top of the mountain look like? What do you see? And that's where I'm going to get the real answer. The real answer is going to come out. Okay, but if you can't get depth there, you can't get real depth where the person and you are on the same side of the table and they realize what's actually at stake and what they actually want and what they're not willing to settle for. I mean, dude, you can do all the objection handling in the world. The person does not want to move forward. Doesn't matter what you say. And then last but not least, it's going to be consequence, Roberto, what's your question?
Yeah, so we don't let them get away with. So once we've okay, so we've made it to the point where, like, I'm just trying to summarize this because I have been like, it was making sense logically. Now I'm trying to summarize, and there's a lot to unpack in that section. So it's like,
Yeah.
so like, do you feel like what you're doing is going to get you to where you want to do in the time frame? And typically it's like you want to follow up with, like, if you keep allowing inaction and fear to get in the way, then they have to admit that they need to change. So that's like a kind of a big milestone that we need them to do.
Mhm.
And press on, like, why now? What made you want to get on the call here today? Draw the line in the sand. Like, why do you want to?
Yeah.
Then that sets us up to say, like, okay, now let's move ahead and say we did get you the training and the coaching that you needed to achieve your goal. Fill in the blank with all other great things. They're like, yes, that would allow me to be one worder. And then you think it typically goes negative, but we pry there. We make them expand.
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
We make them expand, and they're saying, okay, that's what you don't want. Now we help them paint it what they do want. I think
Exactly.
that's where it's just like, okay, well, I'm getting answers. I'm like, yay, good. But it's just like, let me hear more, like depth, follow up, like, on that piece.
Yeah.
That's what I came in asking with in the beginning. So it's really helpful. And it's like the setup too it's like night and day, right? It's like, yeah, you can get to that point, but like you're not getting the answers that you're looking for if you haven't like led up to it correctly. So it's very, very helpful, thorough. Thank you, Tristan.
You got it, dude. Yeah. So once you future paced, then I'll transition once again to a consequence, which would be um, like you being able to pay off all your debt, you being able to actually be there with your family, with your children, being able to spend that time with them where you're not sitting behind a keyboard all day. Like those are amazing goals, and I want that for you, right? But the other side of the coin, I've done thousands of these calls, and everyone says a lot of like what they want, right? But if all we ever do is talk about it, but we don't align our actions with what we say we want, we're always going to be what we are. Right now, the tough part about this is you don't have to do anything. Like think about the last 6, 12 months where you've been telling yourself that you need to make changes, that you need to step up to the plate, that you need to take action, and you haven't. So, like, hell, dude, what happens if another 2 years go by? You keep making excuses, you keep neglecting taking that responsibility on, and you're still in the same spot that you are now. Like, what are the ramifications of that? Are you willing to settle for that? Like, whose responsibility is it at the end of the day? So, like, whose choice is it on whether or not you do settle and you do cope and you do make excuses, or you actually put a line in the sand and you go out and you achieve everything we talked about at the top of the mountain? So, do you feel like now is actually the time to put that line in the sand and take that responsibility on and take action, or how do you feel? And would you like our help with that? Cool. I'd like to help you with that too. Let's see how we could make that a reality for you. Sound good? You got a pen and paper? Like that's the framework. And I'll tell you this, if you do all that right, you're not going to get nearly as many objections. And if you do, you will have permission to handle those objections. What I see oftentimes is we don't do any of that right. And the whole time we're grinning ear to ear, talking about the weather. And I've been to Indiana and I love the Lakers. And then they give us the objections at the end. And then you turn into a completely different person. Now you're probing and clarifying every word they say. What do you mean the sky is blue? Tell me, what do you mean by that? And the person gets turned off and they leave. Or you follow up with them later and they're like, yeah, you felt super pressured. No, we're definitely going to go a different route. Right. So there's scripts and frameworks for like all this stuff. At the end of the day, scripts don't mean anything if you don't understand why you're asking the questions, and you can't get depth and sit with people and not move until you have the answers to the questions that you're asking. Very important. But if you can master this, you will help a tremendous amount of people. It's a cool part.
Hey, Tristan, can I ask you one real quick?
Of course.
Awesome, man. This has been great. Super helpful. Thanks. Sorry, I don't know if I missed it in the beginning, but I have the initial framework and the script that we go through this on the sales process. I'm wondering if you guys are going over like a more in-depth version of this now. Like, I know you're playing towards people's emotions. These questions are great. I know you say it doesn't matter on the scripts or the framework, but I'm curious, do you have a different one that you've been using, or should we be using the basic one that is in the course modules?
Yeah, I think the one inside the course modules is like a general script. The reason we don't give you so much structure to it initially is because everyone's going to have a different offer, niche, etc.
Sure.
And then people are going to start saying, well, what about my niche? So that's why on this call, I try and give you guys a little bit more of a high level. What is your offer that you sell right now?
We help people buy their first or next investment property within the next 3 to 6 months.
Okay. Yeah.
And so
that will be definitely more advanced in terms
okay.
of like the
Sure.
questions that you're asking. Obviously, logistics and like the specifics of your niche is going to be very important. Like getting clarity, but that's the framework overall is the same.
Got it. So I guess one that will apply to everybody here. I don't want to hijack the call. So we find ourselves kind of getting towards the end of the conversation, and we say, so I guess we get to the point where we're basically asking for payment, right? Or right before payment, like, how does that sound? Or
Yeah.
I forget the exact line that we use, right? But then we pause, right? We shut up, and then then it's on them. And they reply, and they're just like, well, some people are like, sounds good. Or like, okay. And then they pause, right? And then we kind of like, it gets into this weird, like, frozen moment, and we try to go back to it. And most of the time, they'll either pay, right? Or then we get to the point that they don't, and they're like, well, I'll help you guys in a couple of days.
Let me help you.
Let
me help you.
Yeah.
So
okay.
My follow-up to that is, can I be the first person to welcome you to the family?
Okay.
Can I be the first person to welcome you to the family? And they're like, no, I definitely need to think about this, and now we can have that conversation.
Sure. How's that work if it's two of us that run the call? So it's usually 2v1. Like, can we be the first to welcome you to the family, I guess?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds dumb to ask that, but
or you could just say,
so,
can we welcome you to the family?
And it's still let's just say like it still gets to that point though. We start getting into battles. Not really a battle, but they're just like, well, I'm not totally sure right now. And then like
that's
I guess
different.
for
I mean,
us, we don't want to
just be-
pressure the hell out of them.
Well, you do. I mean, it's like, I think there's this false narrative where like sales is supposed to be comfortable and everyone who comes on is like a perfect fit and they don't have any objections and they close. And that's great. I love the idea of that. But being in this space as long as I have, it's just not true. And being willing to have those very uncomfortable conversations with people is very refreshing a lot of the time. But the only reason that someone would get turned off to that is if you've been like Willy Wonka the entire call, like trying to be their best friend in the whole wide world. And now that price is on the table, you switch up and now you're more aggressive and assertive and challenging. And what do you mean you need to think about it? That's whenever they say, well, hold on, buddy. Like, you're not the guy I thought you were. Goodbye.
So you kind of weave in that tone a little bit throughout the conversation.
Yeah, I'm just super direct as is. Like, dude, this is not making any sense. You said you wanted to start getting into real estate 5 years ago and you haven't done anything. I'm not a math wizard, bro, but that's like, how many months is that? 50? You haven't done anything.
Yeah.
Because like if I came to you 5 years ago and I told you I wanted to lose 50 pounds and all the time has gone by and all I've really done is like research, searched up Weight Watchers, maybe I downloaded a couple free PDFs, but I haven't gone to the gym and I haven't hired a personal trainer. Would you really say I've done everything in my power to move the needle? Yes or no?
No.
Let me say no. So, okay, so in your own opinion, what has held you back from taking action rather than just doing research? Could it be fear? It is the fear. Okay, cool. We can have that conversation.
Helpful. Thank you.
You got it. I can take one more question. One more question.
Hey, quick question. Does this relate to, do these objections relate to people, I guess, that have more money? Like if money isn't an issue for them? Are these objections kind of the same with them, or do they have different objections?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
So people who have, like if I'm targeting people over 6 figures,
Yep.
necessarily, are the objections the same, or do they have more
Oh,
different
100%.
objections?
No, it's always the same. It's always the same.
Okay.
There
Appreciate
are five. There are five in the market. 2 of them are smoke screens, which would be, I need to think about it. It's a smoke screen. I need to talk to my partner, right? Smoke screen. And then it would be money, fear, logistics. Those are the 5. Money, fear, logistics, partner, think about it. You guys did a great job today. All asking questions. Made the time go by real quick, didn't it? You learned a lot. You guys come with questions. You learn a lot. I'm telling you right now. Okay, everybody. Great call. I appreciate you guys for jumping on, and we'll run it back next week, but I want to see some wins in the Chizzy chat between
Thank
now
you.
and then.
Appreciate it.
You got it, guys.
You're a legend, Tristan.
Have a great week.